Me a lot back home. We're both transplants down here from New York because apparently there's a ton of them down here in Florida. All right, settle down over there. I'll see you after class. His wife refers to him as a little taste of Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for everybody's Uncle Rocky. One more time for Uncle Rocky. He's doing a little housekeeping up here.
How about a nice hand for Ryan? 28 years old, hosting a comedy show. 28 years old. I got socks older than him. So, I've been married for 40 years. The only reason why I do this is so that my ears get blown out by feedback. Now, the only reason why I do this is because it's the only place I can get 5 minutes in without my wife interrupting me. My wife, Pixie, she's like a Boston cream donut. She smells great. She tastes delicious. But like too many Boston cream donuts, she's killing me slowly. You know, we're Italian, we're big hand talkers, always going a mile a minute. If I could sit down, I could move my hands. But Pixie especially, she broke her wrist a couple of years ago, and she developed a speech impediment. She just stood there going, "You son of a bitch." You know, maturing in marriage is accepting the fact that your wife can't remember where she left her glasses, but she can remember something I said 39 years ago on a Monday night. She'll have like 50% of a conversation in her head before she brings me into it. And at that point, I'm accused of never paying attention. I have to admit, I have what I like to call Italian Alzheimer's, selective memory. I remember everything. I forget everything but the grudges. I fucked that one up. Anyway, when I was getting married, I went to my dad and I said, "Pop, give me some advice. I need to know, what's important. I want to make the marriage successful. Tell me what I need to know." He says, "You need to know 2 words. 2. Yes, dear." Now, I was kind of dubious of that because I'd never heard him say that to my mom. So I decided I'm going to go to my off-the-boat Italian Nono. And I go see him. I said, "Nono, tell me, what do I need to know to make the marriage successful?" Nono asks, "She's Italian?" I said, "Yeah, she's Italian." He goes, "Is she a Sicilian?" I said, "Yeah, she's Sicilian." He goes, "Well, you can tell a lot about this girl by the way she uses her hands." I said, "How so?" He says, "Well, for instance, if they're wrapped around your throat, she's probably pissed off." You know, when I was getting married, we didn't have a choice about vows. Kids today, they write their vows. It's very special to them, very meaningful. But for Pixie and I, we did the very traditional vows. Now take a look at me. I got a cane. Today we did an ALS walk. I didn't walk. I was on a scooter. I'm really glad we took the traditional vows because I really screwed her with that whole in sickness and health thing. You know, there's 4 stages to marriage. The first stage is the newlywed stage. Best time of your life. You're going at it like bunnies. You wear out a mattress the first year you're married. The second stage is happy. The sex is good, and it's fairly frequent, but what do you get? "Hey, what are you doing to mommy? We here yelling Yahtzee. We want in, we want to play too." The third stage is amused. You're feeling very amorous. You run up to the bedroom, you rip your clothes off, and you just look at each other and crack up because gravity's a bitch. And finally, there's that tolerance stage, all that playful banter of your newlywed years and your youth. That's all gone now. You still have sex. I like to call it hallway sex. You just walk by each other and go, "Fuck you." You know, after 40 years, I don't even say yes, dear anymore. I just sort of sit there and I blink and nod. It's basically become a hostage situation. And compromise is key. I mean, after 40 years, you learn to compromise. I say I fucked up, and she says, "Yeah, you're right." Have you ever tried to win an argument with your spouse? You can't. That's adorable to even think that you can. you just simply run out of breath and pass out. The weird part, though, is you end up apologizing for something you said at Beefsteak Charlie's in 1996. And of course I apologize because, well, I do like to live indoors. The scariest words in any marriage, I was thinking. No bullet points, no script, and I'm just sitting there saying, what the fuck is this going to cost me now? Vacation prep has always been fun. Well, I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks before we leave for vacation, Amazon arrives at the house 3, 4, 5 times a day. She ends up with 14 new outfits, 5 pairs of shoes. We're going on a long weekend. I've got my 3 band t-shirts from the 70s and my New Balance kicks from 1999. I'm ready to go. You know, aging, I thought this aging shit would take a lot longer. Frankly, I'd rather be dealing with acne than arthritis. Well, I went to the doctor because, you know, I had a lot of pain. So I go to the doctor, he does full body x-rays, knees, hips, back, shoulders, everything. He puts the x-rays up and he's pointing and he says, do you know what these white clouds are? I said, oh shit, is it bone cancer? He says, no, it's arthritis. He says, and he said, I could give you meds to give you some relief, but you have to understand, arthritis is going to be painful and it's going to make everything stiff. Not everything. You know, I have these trigger fingers now. I had carpal tunnel in this hand that I had taken care of. But I got trigger finger here. When I wake up in the morning, it looks like I'm flashing gang signs for AARP. You know how you know you're getting old? Your balls are longer than a CVS receipt. It was bothering me because I would sit on the toilet and experience splashdown. Now, you women don't know what that's like, but you basically sit down and your balls just splash down. So I said, I need something to prevent this from happening. I go to the workshop and I land on 2 mini bagels. I put them in the water, rest my balls on them. Worked for a couple of minutes, but then the water broke up the bagels. Go back to the workshop. Take 2 more bagels, I polyurethane them. Now, they're not going to get waterlogged and break apart. But they didn't stay nice and tight. What did I do? A smear of cream cheese. Put that on, stuck them to my balls, never got wet again. I like to call those the testicular flotation devices. You know, when I was a kid, I used to love getting stoned. I'd put on Led Zeppelin, smoke a couple of joints, was the best thing in the world. Now, I just stand up too quickly and my blood pressure takes over. Blood pressure. And drinking obviously hits differently when you get older. I mean, right now I can have a 3-day hangover from a blueberry smoothie. You know, I go in the bathroom and I sort of lose my train of thought because it actually takes me longer to start going than it does to actually go. And when I do start, it's sort of like this series of urinary dots and dashes. Ships at sea are starting to respond to me. There's 4 rules to aging. You young guys might want to write this down. 1, you never pass a bathroom up. 2, you never waste an erection. 3, you never ever trust a fart. And 4, most importantly, never ever ever get down on the floor without a plan to get back up. So you guys can say I got a few tattoos. Well, more than a few. Pixie takes me to get a new tattoo. So I get the tattoo, I come home and she looks and she goes, what is that? I said, what? She goes, what did you get on your leg? She says, there's 3 lines. I says, yeah, I know. She goes, why? I don't understand. What's the meaning of this? I said, well, you remember when the kids were little, we'd sort of chart their height on the door jamb to measure their growth. She says, yeah, I get that, but I don't get the 3 lines. I said, well, Pixie, I'm trying to measure the impact of gravity on my balls. She says, well, why the dotted line? I said, because at that point, no more shorts. I'm really grateful that I grew up in the 70s. There was no gluten, no celiac disease, no peanut allergies. There's an entire generation of kids that could be taken out by pasta. And we didn't have cell phones, so, you know, we didn't text. We didn't take pictures of literally everything we ate. and post it on 9 different kinds of social media because people care about your fucking egg roll, you know? So I'm really grateful that we didn't have that. Because I do believe that literally everything we did as kids would have ended up in an indictment. Yeah. And what happened to pubic hair? Pubic hair is a thing of the past. You don't see pubic hair anymore. In the 70s, you had to be motivated to muff dive. It was a very specific technique in the 70s. Allow me to demonstrate. You wanted to get all those loose hairs out of the way. This way you weren't choking. But the muff is gone now. It doesn't exist. Everything is hardwood. You know, in the 70s, a good bush could double as a temporary toupee. And of course, who could forget those after morning hairballs? You know, menopause was an interesting time for us. I like to call it the thermostat wars. It would be so cold in the bedroom that we would have intermittent flurries. I said to Pixie, I said, look, you know, tell me about this menopause. I see you suffering. What are these hot flashes all about? She said, well, I feel like I'm burning from the inside out. And I said, oh, I get it. It's like when I have a very spicy Italian meal. I woke up a half hour later and she was standing over me with the frying pan. Yeah. She was going through her own personal global warming. It was ridiculous. But when we lived up in New Jersey and we would get those very heavy snowfalls, I would just sit her out in the driveway and the radiant heat would just clear all the snow away. I'm in bed one night and I hear bzzz. A little loud, a little faster. Bzzz. I roll over all ready to go, and there's Pixie with the little fan from her nightstand, just trying to keep herself cool. I had a completely different idea in mind. I was very disappointed. You know, Italian women, I've been around Italian women my whole life, 6 generations of them, and I can tell you they talk incessantly. It's almost as if they can breathe through their ears. Now that also leads me to the conclusion that they're full of shit when they say, I'm not sucking that because I can't breathe. And for Italian women, menopause is basically Mother Nature's way of telling her she's going to be dealing with facial hair for the rest of her life. My Nona, at age 80, had such a luxurious beard, she was asked to front for a ZZ Top cover band. Do I have a few more minutes? Have you guys ever been to an Italian wedding? No? So, there's 400 people. Maybe the bride and groom know 100 of them. All because mom and grandma have to invite Uncle Tony's sisters, cousins, fathers, accountant. And there are tables and tables full of those people. We had 4 tables of people at our wedding that we didn't even talk to anymore, but you have to invite them because mom says invite them. There's 30 people in the bridal party. Every one of them is a first cousin to the bride and the groom. There's guests people don't even know. There's that one uncle from Sicily who's very wealthy. No one knows how he made his money. We all have our suspicions, but, you know, he gives nice gifts. You're at an Italian wedding when everybody there uses the rubber band from the broccoli rabe as their wallet. And when it comes time to give the gifts, people walk up and they hand an envelope. There's no such thing as bringing a toaster or a shop vac or a dust buster to an Italian wedding. If you bring a gift like that, chances are you're going to disappear. So it's basically cash in an envelope, maybe a note of congratulations, and you hand that to the Nona. And the Nona's sitting there with a silk bag with all the money in it. That's on the right side. Her left hand is on her purse, which has the 38 in it. That's wedding security. And the meal is interesting. You know, you go to the cocktail hour. There's enough food to feed a small village. And you're thinking that's it, but no. Then you go in the dining room, and you get the pre-pasta, you get the pasta, and the post-pasta, which is followed up by surf and turf because Italians, we don't do that shitty chicken. And then there's always that one uncle who runs up to the band, and he wants to sing My Way. And he asks for the key of drunk. think that's about it. Let's have a nice hand for Ryan. Be good to your waiters and waitresses. They're taking care of you. Take care of them.
One more time, everybody, please give a big hand for Uncle Rocky.